You know, folks, I've been talking a lot lately about how we defeat these vile monsters that are running rampant across civilization. And usually I'm telling you kindness. Be good to one another. Be honorable. Be honest. Don't be one of these lying, self-serving scumbag degenerates like the rest of them. But you see, that's one half of the coin right there. You got to be a decent person. You got to be kind. You got to be loving. You got to be open to love. But at the same time, don't forget about the righteous anger. And that's going to be the topic of this video. You know, I had a young man write me. He wrote me to tell me about what he's been through recently. Good, honorable man, served in the military, was married, was faithful to his wife, only to be constantly nagged, beaten up by his wife and his mother-in-law, to only have her eventually divorce him. And then after complaining about how he wasn't a good provider, even though he was serving in the armed forces, to go from him to a complete omega degenerate loser. And ain't that how it always goes, folks? Woman says, no, I'm not going to date you because you don't make enough money. Next thing you know, she's moved in with some drug addict on welfare. And he's lost. He doesn't know what to do. Feels betrayed. Rightly so. Can't find any help in the church, which ain't too surprising with the state of the church these days, now is it? Brother, what you need is righteous anger. Now, I don't know about most folks. I know about myself, and I know about you. Just from what you wrote. We're soldiers. We fight evil. And what you need to do is remind yourself what evil is. You're dealing with the mundane, day-to-day, petty treacheries and betrayals of human beings. And believe me, I know a thing or two about that. I dedicated the last year of my life to making that bloody film. I put the target on myself. Right? Why do you think I'm having so many problems with YouTube? Why do you think this video is chopped up into multiple portions? Because I put a target on myself to get this thing done, and was rewarded with betrayal by most of the voices within Gamergate. Not all of them, but those voices that didn't betray me have certainly moved on as well. Wound up finishing the bloody thing with no money for food, working 12 hours a day, just to get back my reputation, which had been slandered and dragged through the mud. And now that it was done, recovered my reputation. But the bloody thing only has, what, 15,000 views? To quote Common Filth, the YouTuber Common Filth, link down below to him because he's a good man. And he helps me maintain my faith when it wavers. Do not put your trust in man. Put your trust in God. Man will always fail you. There's no justice in this world, aside from the justice that men of God create. And this is why you familiarize yourself with evil. Remind yourself of what evil is. These petty betrayals, these cheats, these liars, these cowards, they're everywhere. 90% of people do not care what is happening to this nation. They do not care about the collapse of Western civilization. They go along to get along. It's the other 10% where you're going to find the heroes and the monsters, the angels and the demons. And this is what you got to be looking at. All right? Don't concern yourself with the petty garbage from day to day. You know, be disgusted by it. All right? Be, shocked, grossed out. But don't get angry. Don't feel betrayal over that. That's man. Man's going to betray you. Look at the true evil. And I don't know what this might be for you. You know, maybe researching the serial killers, okay? Or these psychopaths in the media. Or these pedophilic sex rings that exist in places like Hollywood and the halls of Washington, D.C. Look into this stuff. Study demonology, the psychology of narcissism. Whatever it is, remind yourself of what evil looks like. Because young man, you are the sort of person who is built to fight it. Charity also implies righteous anger and fury at those who would corrupt the innocent. Better a millstone around the neck than one hurts a child. Focus on that. Focus on the evil. Focus on the degenerates. Focus on the ugliness. And remember to stay clean. When you see the vermin and the filth, you see the slippery slope that leads you down there. You see how easy it is, one step at a time, to fall into that pit. Get the vice out of your life. Get the sin out of your life. And one last thing. Because I know you're having trouble finding a good priest. You said to me that you're going to confession. It felt like you were going to confession every single week and then just going and sinning again. For most people, for most of us, you shouldn't be going to confession. Well, you should go at least more often than once a year, less than once a month. There are some exceptions to that. If you're engaged in a very, very strong spiritual study for a time, then perhaps even daily confession would be warranted. But for most of us, don't overdo reconciliation. Okay, because when you go to church, all right, when you go to the church, when you have the service, there is a forgiveness of sins each and every time. All right, so I know you think you're in mortal sin. Quite frankly, and I double-checked this with my priest, you probably aren't. All right, it's probably venial sin, especially if you feel bad about it, okay? Go to church. You know, even if you're not a big fan of the clergy at your church, go to church anyway. Make that confession at the beginning of the service, and then accept the grace of Christ. And then if there's something that's really weighing on you, then go. Okay? But accept that grace, go, and you know what? While you obviously shouldn't be cafeteria shopping for a church you like, there's nothing wrong with looking around for a priest that understands where you're coming from. These are dark times right now in the church, and she needs men like us more than ever. She needs all the righteous people that do not like the cultural Marxist infiltration that's destroying her. Same thing goes for America. When you got a bad president, it means that you need to fight all that much harder to preserve what's of value. America needs good men and women. It needs men like you. Keep your eyes on the ball and accept the fact that, yes, man is going to betray you. Do not put your faith in man. And hell, well, hell's a place for people that enjoy life on earth. Deus Volt, Aurini out.